Also on Capitol Hill, January 6th committee lawmakers are hoping to lay out a case against former President Trump tonight. There's a primetime hearing scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern. It is set to focus on what the former president did and did not do during the attack. And we also expect to learn more about what he did the next day. Former President Trump has expected no responsibility for what happened on January 6th and continues to spread lies about the last election.
So Scott MacFarlane has the very latest for us this morning. Scott, good morning.
Anne Marie and Vlad, good morning to you. We're expecting to hear outtakes of a recorded speech Trump was recording January 7th, 2021, as his advisors were urging him to denounce the violence. But the focus tonight in the hearing, according to the committee, is what they characterize as an inaction by former President Trump as rioters overtook the U.S. Capitol.
Our country has had enough.
The January 6th committee accuses the former president of dereliction of duty, ignoring calls even from his inner circle to intervene as the riot unfolded. What can you show or tell that America hasn't seen 100 times before?
There's still more of the story to tell. What was the president's response, and why didn't he go a couple feet, 25 feet over to the press room and tell folks to leave?
The attack and Trump's alleged inaction spanned more than 3 hours. The mob flooded to the Capitol at about 1 p.m., with the peak of the surge and the violence shortly after Trump tweeted criticism of Mike Pence after 2 p.m. Just before 3, the House chamber barricaded, police guns drawn, and some members hiding beneath seats. More than an hour later, and after multiple deaths, only then did Trump post this Twitter video.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
Tonight, the committee will hear from 2 top Trump White House aides who quit immediately after the 6th. Former Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews and former Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger, who spoke with Face the Nation shortly after January 6th.
I saw the same things unfold that the American public saw. I mean, images of violence unfolding on television, and that's when I called it quits.
The committee has accused Trump of being part of a conspiracy to defraud the United States. On the eve of the primetime hearing, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland didn't mention Trump by name, but said no one is off limits.
We have to hold accountable every person who is criminally responsible for trying to overturn a legitimate election.
Trump continues to deny this committee's findings, but in the meantime, CBS News has confirmed the Secret Service turned over 1 text message from January 5th and 6th, 2021 to this panel. The committee has blasted the agency, saying they may have violated federal records law for not preserving the data from those days.
So, Scott, let's talk about what the committee is expecting to accomplish tonight. What is the main point that they're looking to drive home?
Tonight, the focus is on what's being characterized as dereliction of duty. What you want to watch for is, does the committee argue Donald Trump was paralyzed by inaction or indecisiveness, or are they going to argue Donald Trump was gleefully watching the riot unfold over those 3 hours? It's a big difference there. I'm watching to see which of those 2 paths the committee goes down. But also, the committee is arguing this is not necessarily their final hearing. I brought that question to California Congressman Pete Aguilar, a member of the committee, late last night. Is tonight's hearing a finale? Is this it?
This is the next hearing that we are discussing. We're not going to talk about what the future holds because we continue to receive information and testimony.
Vlad and Anne Marie, there's 2 reasons for that. First of all, they're still doing their investigating. They're still conducting interviews, and they want to leave room for a possible hearing if there's another possible bombshell. But also, kind of speaks to the ways of Washington. If the committee were to foreclose the possibility of future hearings and say we're done after tonight, they'd lose leverage with prospective future interviewees, and they want to keep the strength and the muscle behind their investigation.
So we know we have 2 witnesses today, Matthew Pottinger and Sarah Matthews. What do we expect to hear from them? They both resigned after the January 6th attack.
They both were in close contact or in that narrow radius to the Trump inner circle January 6th, and both quit after the riot. We know the committee has gone about its business deliberately, presenting their findings through the voices of Trump aides, the Trump inner circle, through Republican voices. They have another opportunity to do that tonight. Pottinger was a loyal Trump aide, was there for the duration of the administration until January 6th. Sarah Matthews was literally a spokesperson for the Trump administration. So the committee has gone about it again. They have found two people in close contact with the Trump inner circle and two, for most of this administration, very loyal members of the team through which to make their arguments tonight.
All right, Scott, let's talk about some more of your reporting, including those deleted Secret Service text messages from January 6th. I think it still boggles the mind in this day and age in this country that the disappearance of material that has been requested by a congressional committee from a federal agency, the Secret Service, which is not just, people should know, not just about protecting the president. They are part of the Treasury Department, in fact, and have wide-ranging law enforcement capabilities, including counterfeiting and a variety of other crimes that they're tasked investigating. It is remarkable that they claim that these text messages no longer exist.
Well, what Scott just said actually really blew my mind, that so far they've handed over one. So even if some of these text messages have disappeared through this upgrade, right, you know, there were hundreds, if not more than that, of text messages going back and forth on that day. There had to be. You can only hand over one. There's got to be more of them that weren't erased that they could hand over.
And so then the question, of course, Scott, is what can Congress do?
Well, Congress is saying that this is possibly a violation of federal records law, and the National Archives, which is the agency that's in charge of data preservation, has asked the Secret Service to do an internal review and find out what gives here. But there's been this range of response from members of the January 6th committee, ranging from surprise, some have called it crazy that this has happened, some have called it shocking that this has happened, some seem viscerally angry that this has happened, that an agency which specializes in forensics, in data forensic work, could let this happen. But it's also beginning to feel like a tree branch. If the January 6th committee investigation is a tree, this is a large branch that has grown from it, and it's its own thing now. There are questions about the integrity and the capability, the ability of the Secret Service to do its work. Part of the job of federal workers is to preserve their records. They are trained on it. They are ordered to do so. And clearly that was a failure at a seminal moment in American history.
So before we let you go, I've got to ask you about another member of the Trump White House that testified privately before the committee. This is somebody I think whose name people might not know, but obviously they felt he had valuable information to add.
Well, at this point, the committee is opening the door to any witnesses with whom they are willing to speak. They've talked to about 1,000 people so far, including folks in the Trump inner circle, including Trump family members. You know, the question that sits out there for me right now is, does the committee get any value from talking to former President Trump? You know, Congressman Kinzinger of Illinois told Face the Nation this weekend, not sure the former president can be trusted even under oath to tell the truth, and that may diminish his value. But the members of the committee haven't ruled out calling him. So there's still a door that's cracked to hearing from Trump himself, from former Vice President Pence, and others with whom the committee has not yet spoken.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Well, the CBS News will bring you tonight's hearing in a special report, of course. Everything begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. So set your phone or alarm or whatever people do nowadays to remember this.